Back when life was simple, our boy was just a kid hanging out at the local nostalgic prize draw booth with his friends. He checked his ticket and could not believe his luck because he actually landed the number 35 prize. Young Jinho was absolutely stoked, while the other kids gathered around to see what kind of treasure he just scored. The vendor did not look too thrilled about handing over the top-tier reward to a bunch of rowdy middle schoolers. Jinho hoisted the massive golden sugar fish high above his head and shouted for everyone to come and get a piece. Even as a kid, he had a heart of gold and loved seeing his buddies happy. He smashed the candy into pieces so everyone could have a taste of the victory he just won. The kids cheered as Jinho sat high up on the playground equipment, sharing his prize with everyone. Even as a child, his generous nature was his defining trait. Our boy just smiled and enjoyed the crunch of the sugar, since sharing was always more fun than eating alone. He sat perched on the roof of the play structure, looking down at his friends while enjoying the sweet taste of victory. Years later, the bright playground sun was replaced by the cold glow of a computer monitor in a dark apartment. Jinho stared at the screen with an intensity that suggested his entire life depended on the next few seconds. His finger hovered over the mouse button while he waited for the perfect moment to gamble it all. A legendary chest pulsed on the display, practically begging him to tap it and reveal the contents. He mutters to himself that he has reached the point of no return as he finally commits to the last click of the night. The cursor landed right on the ornate latch of the digital box, while sparks of light flickered across the screen. A strange sensation washed over his hand, and the mouse started glowing with an eerie blue energy that he had never felt before. Light erupted from the monitor and bathed the entire room in a brilliant azure hue that left our boy completely stunned. Something about this draw felt totally different. He slammed the button down and the chest burst open with a blinding flash that seemed to consume the entire interface. The anticipation was killing him, but he knew the payoff was about to be massive. Emerging from the flames of the animation was a majestic blade that looked like it belonged to a god of destruction. His jaw dropped when he saw the letters UR flashing, because he just pulled the legendary Covenant of Doom. Jinho exhaled a long breath and leaned back in his chair, finally letting the adrenaline leave his system after that successful pull. But the high of the game started to fade, as the silence of his empty room reminded him of his actual situation. He sat alone in the dark, surrounded by the hum of electronics, while the rest of the world was likely fast asleep. Ding! A message from a hiring manager informs Jinho that he was not selected in the final round. Rejection had become a regular part of his daily routine, and every new notification felt like a punch to the gut. Seasons changed, and the weather turned cold, but the messages remained exactly the same as he continued to struggle. Eventually, he just collapsed onto his desk, feeling completely drained by the endless cycle of failure and disappointment. He turned back to the only place where he felt any sense of control and started hammering away at his keyboard again. His eyes narrowed with a desperate focus as he tried to lose himself in the pixels and ignore his mounting problems. A bitter coldness now fills his gaze, replacing the warmth and joy he used to feel on that playground so many years ago. He noticed a note from his parents mentioning they were heading out and left him some cash to buy himself dinner. Staring at the note on the fridge, he could not help but feel like an absolute loser for still relying on his family. The adulting struggle is way too real here. He navigated back to the equipment screen and reviewed the gear he spent so much time collecting. Sweat beaded on his forehead as he realized that the virtual world was the only place he had any actual value left. A lonely candle flickered in the tavern, illuminating the rows of wooden mugs as Jinho prepared to dive back into the game world. Jinho and his crew were just hanging out in the game. That bearded Viking and the knight look ready for a raid. Suddenly, Jinho gets a notification that makes his heart skip a beat. It's a private whisper from the guild leader herself. The witch guild leader starts asking some weirdly personal questions. She wants to know exactly where he went to university. She keeps digging and asks what his major was while they are surrounded by loot. Jinho tells her he studied business administration in Seoul. She flashes a mysterious smile and notes that his degree is perfect, clearly plotting a major role for our boy in her upcoming scheme. Then she drops a total bombshell and tells him to stop wasting all his time looking for a regular job. He is speechless as his guild leader suggests he should just quit the job search and come work for her instead. Jinho is absolutely stunned by the offer. One second he is playing a game, and the next he might have a career. The witch raises her staff and says she is not expecting much from him anyway. She is ready to make the transition happen. Before he can even process what is happening, he gets sucked into a magical portal. Jinho is screaming for his life as the virtual world fades away and everything starts spinning out of control. Talk about a crazy way to get a job interview. We are back in the real world at this massive glass skyscraper. This place looks like the headquarters for a multi-billion-dollar corporation. His resume shows he graduated from Jinseo University, but he only has basic certifications. To most people, he looks like a total rookie with zero experience. The hiring manager is looking at Jinho's application with a confused expression. He mentions that the order to hire him came directly from the CEO's office. Gwangun is the type of serious team leader who values efficiency above everything else. He immediately begins evaluating Jinho to see if this parachute hire is worth the trouble. Meanwhile, the guild leader avatar is just smiling away in the background. She definitely pulled some serious strings to make this happen. Jinho literally parachutes onto the rooftop of the company building like he is on some top secret mission. He hits the ground hard and tries to gather his bearings while looking at the city skyline. This is definitely not your typical first day on the job. Jinho is still trying to get his bearings after his wild arrival. He is dressed in a suit, but he is covered in a parachute and feels like he just stepped out of a game. Gwangun walks down the hall with a look of pure annoyance. He knows he is dealing with a parachute hire who got in through connections. Every second counts as traders track global markets across every time zone. Jinho is entering a digital battlefield where the financial stakes are incredibly high. The trading floor is a madhouse where high-stakes deals happen instantly. Jinho realizes one tiny mistake here could end up costing the company millions. All the traders are locked into their screens and looking completely exhausted. This place is basically a digital battlefield for money. Jinho realizes that the market is in a total freefall right now. He is thinking that he picked the worst possible time to start a career in finance. The scale of the operation is enough to make any rookie's head spin. Jinho is finally in the big leagues, and the pressure is already starting to mount. Gwangun continues to size up the rookie with an intense and judgmental expression. Making a good first impression at this high-stakes firm is going to be much harder than our protagonist originally anticipated. Jinho stands tall in his new suit and introduces himself to the team. He is trying his best to look professional despite being terrified inside. He knows he has to prove he belongs here and is not just a favor for the boss. Our boy takes a deep breath and gulps as he feels the pressure. The silence in the room is making his nerves act up. Gwangun acknowledges him, but his body language says he is not impressed. He stands there with his hands in his pockets waiting for more. The team leader is thinking to himself that this is unbelievable. He cannot believe they sent him, a complete rookie, to train from scratch. He realizes the higher-ups just want Jinho kept around for some reason. Whether he actually learns anything or not does not seem to matter. Gwangun calls over one of the senior staff members to help out. He is ready to dump the rookie on someone else. Jinho looks over as a new person approaches him. He is hoping for someone who is at least a little bit friendly. A beautiful woman with long brown hair steps forward and accepts the task. She is holding a blue folder and looks incredibly competent and ready to work. Her positive energy is a huge contrast to the grumpy team leader who just handed him off. She starts leading Jinho through the busy office to show him around. He follows closely behind while trying not to trip over his own feet. Jinho looks around the massive, high-tech office in complete disbelief that he actually landed a position here. He realizes his life is about to change forever as he officially starts his first day at Gwangun Securities. It finally sinks in that his guild leader is the CEO of Gwangun Securities. She is one of the most powerful people in the entire country. Jinho is already hard at work as a finger presses down on the coffee machine button. Even in a high-stakes corporate world, it all starts with a simple cup of caffeine. As the machine begins to whir and dispense a hot cup of coffee, the gravity of the situation begins to weigh on him. Jinho tries to maintain his composure despite his first-day nerves. His senior coworker is standing by the counter while Jinho frantically scribbles notes in his little notebook. He is hanging onto every single word she says like his job depends on it. She leans in close to get a better look at him, while Jin-ho freezes up. Our protagonist is clearly not used to this much direct attention from someone so high up the ladder. As global markets shift in real time, the chaotic data serves as a constant reminder of the stakes. One wrong move here could cost the firm a fortune. His new senior colleague analyzes him with an intensity that suggests she can see right through his facade. Jin-ho feels like he is being audited by a true professional. Jin-ho is literally sweating bullets right now as the silence stretches on between them. He is probably wondering if he already made a massive mistake on his first day. Suddenly, she bursts out laughing and delivers a massive slap to his back that nearly knocks the wind out of him. Corporate bonding is apparently a full-contact sport here. Our boy looks up at her while rubbing his shoulder and asks about the promise they made. He is still trying to get his bearings while she just smiles at him. She looks incredibly bright and cheerful as she points, finger directly at him. Her energy is totally infectious, and it seems like she is starting to like our protagonist. Jin-ho watches her walk away and thinks to himself that she is definitely a unique character. He has met some strange people in guilds, but the corporate world is a whole different beast. His brain is basically stuck in chibai mode as he tries to process everything that just happened. It is going to take a lot more than a notebook to survive this office. A high-tech projector hums to life, casting a bright light onto the screen at the front of the dark meeting room. The team leader points out that the dollar index is maintaining its strength while grilling the staff on the current activity of foreign investors. Things are getting intense. The team leader maintains a terrifyingly grim expression while overseeing the meeting. This dude looks like he eats market crashes for breakfast and still has room for a side of liquidations. He instructs the team to find a way to cover the positions using ETFs or futures. Everyone in the room nods in agreement while Jin-ho sits quietly in the back. Our boy looks absolutely drained as the weight of the corporate world starts to sink in. He is realizing that fighting monsters might actually be easier than tracking market trends. Looking up at the massive Gwangun Securities headquarters, Jin-ho can't help but feel a sense of dread. He's starting to wonder if a hunter like him can actually survive here. He sneaks off to a quiet stairwell to take a phone call away from prying eyes. A familiar witch icon pops up on his screen as a voice laughs at him. Jin-ho tries to keep his voice down as he explains his current situation to the person on the other end. He looks nervous about being caught slacking off on the job. The earpiece in Jin-ho's ear is buzzing with the loud voice of his old guild contact as they continue to tease him. He wipes a bead of sweat from his forehead while trying to maintain his composure. It is a struggle to balance his secret past with his new professional identity. Standing high above the city, the guild master reminds Jin-ho to treat his new superiors with the same respect he showed back in the guild. He needs to play the game perfectly to survive. Jin-ho quickly bows to the empty air while promising that he will definitely do his best. He is still very much a rookie when it comes to navigating these social hierarchies. He looks down at his phone after the call finally ends and the screen goes dark. That was a lot of information to take in while standing in a cold stairwell. A long, heavy sigh escapes his lips as he tries to gather his thoughts. The pressure is coming from every direction, and our boy is just trying to stay afloat. Back at the workstation, multiple monitors are flashing with stock tickers and complicated graphs. The sheer amount of data is enough to make any regular person head spin. His coworker leans over and mentions that his experience with simulated trading was a huge addition to his resume. She seems impressed by his background in the virtual markets. She gives him a bright smile and a thumbs up to encourage him. She is definitely playing the role of the supportive senior, and Jin-ho is not quite sure how to react. As he clicks his mouse, Jin-ho thinks to himself that he never even asked for her opinion. He is focused on the task at hand and trying to ignore the office chatter. He looks over at her with a slightly puzzled expression as she continues to talk. He is trying to figure out her true intentions behind all this friendly advice. She explains that building experience with various small tasks is the only way to eventually rise up and become a senior member of the team. Jin-ho looks at her with a serious expression as he processes her words. He is realizing that the corporate world has its own set of levels and experience points. She gives him a very confident smile as she looks him straight in the eye. It is clear that she has already figured out exactly how to win at this game. Our protagonist realizes the ultimate truth of his new environment. In this concrete jungle, it does not matter who you are because whoever makes the most money is the king. Jinho realizes that everything is much simpler than he originally anticipated. He is finally starting to grasp the rhythm of this high-stakes environment. The clock strikes 9 in Seoul. The market is officially open and the chaos is about to begin. The entire office erupts into movement as traders scramble to their stations. Phones are ringing, and the energy in the room is electric as everyone prepares for the opening bell. This is where the real money is made or lost in the blink of an eye. Our boy looks focused, while the young woman beside him tries to keep the mood light. She has no idea that Jinho's mind is already leagues ahead of everyone else in this room. One of the senior traders is already barking orders into his phone. In this business, a single second can mean the difference between a massive win or a total disaster. The screens turn blue as stock prices begin to tank. It is a total bloodbath on the floor, and everyone watches the numbers drop with pure desperation as their profits vanish. Fingers fly across keyboards as the traders try to stabilize their positions. This is the front line of the financial world, where only the fastest and most ruthless survive. The atmosphere in the room has completely shifted into a war zone. Every single person is locked into their monitors as the market transforms into something unrecognizable. The pressure is enough to make anyone crack, but Jinho is just getting started. Jinho takes it all in as he realizes this is the true face of a brokerage firm. He watches the chaos unfold with a level of calm that is honestly a bit terrifying. Everything else fades to white as a single question mark appears in Jinho's mind, signaling a moment of sudden realization. Our protagonist feels a weird tingling in his fingertips as he grips his mouse. Something is happening to him, and he cannot quite put his finger on what it is yet. It feels like the air itself is vibrating around his desk. His vision blurs as he begins to focus intensely on the data, his senses sharpening as he prepares to make a move. Jinho stares at his hand in disbelief as the blue energy begins to swirl. He recognizes this feeling from somewhere else entirely, and it is making his heart race. This is not just a normal day at the office anymore. This is the exact same sensation he gets right before pulling a legendary item in a game. To him, the stock market is no longer just numbers on a screen. It is a massive boss raid, and he is about to hit the ultimate jackpot. The young woman asks if he is even listening to her. She does not realize that our boy has completely tuned out the world to focus on the golden opportunity in front of him. She stops mid-sentence when she catches a glimpse of his face. The look in his eyes has completely changed from a rookie into a predator who just found his prey. His gaze is locked on the monitor with absolute precision, and the data on the screen is starting to look like a puzzle he has already solved. A confident smirk plays across his lips. He knows exactly what is going to happen next, and he is the only one in the room who sees the coming storm. Jinho hovers his finger over the mouse, knowing that this single click will finally set his master plan into motion. He is just one heartbeat away from executing the trade that is going to absolutely shock everyone in the entire market. Hyrin is absolutely floored when she sees exactly what kind of reckless move Jinho just pulled. She can't believe her junior would be this bold on his very first day. She gasps in total shock as she finally realizes that this trade is headed for a complete train wreck. Our girl points right at Jinho's monitor, unable to believe he actually placed such a massive gamble. The stock is plummeting so hard, it looks like it's going to be a total wipeout for his portfolio. A blue light notification confirms that the trade is moving in the wrong direction incredibly fast. Jinho sits there sweating bullets, while his senior looks over his shoulder at the total disaster. She desperately searches the screen for any sign that Jinho isn't about to lose everything on this bet. Our boy just gives a sheepish smile and scratches his head while trying to apologize. She can't help but feel a mix of pity and confusion after watching him make such a basic rookie error. Jinho thinks to himself that the trading interface felt exactly like a video game. He pressed the button without even thinking about the real-world consequences at all. Now the stock just keeps dropping, and he has absolutely no idea how to stop the bleeding. Our boy begins to doubt his own talents, wondering if his special ability is useless for stocks. He was really hoping for a big win on his first day to prove himself to the team. This failure is a real shame for someone with such high expectations. The office atmosphere is heavier than a lead brick after Jinho's massive mistake today. He looks like a specialized surgical killer as he prepares for his next move. This is the world of professional scalping, an ultra-short-term strategy that shaves off tiny profits. The manager sets the pace with focused intensity, showing the team how to execute a perfect trade like a pro. Every trader in the room is locked into their screens, fighting for every single cent of profit. He waits for the split second the timer hits 0, so he can execute his high-speed trading strategy. One decisive click is all it takes for him to seal the deal on a massive win. The sound of rapid clicking fills the air as the traders enter a total frenzy of digital warfare. Suddenly, the associate manager jumps out of his chair and lets out a massive victory cheer. Everyone turns to look at the guy with glasses as he celebrates a successful play. Jinho watches the display of ego with a blank expression, feeling completely out of place. Hye-rin tries to lighten the mood by schooling Jinho on how to actually spot the best market trends. She points toward the charts with a confident smile, hoping he can learn from his disaster. The manager looms over the desk, his presence alone enough to silence the entire room of traders instantly. The associate manager freezes instantly as he feels terrifying presence looming over him. The boss lets out a smug smirk, clearly enjoying his position of absolute authority over his stressed employees. He demands an explanation for the noise, forcing the lower-ranked trader to bow in apology. Time is running out on the trading floor as the high-pressure day finally comes to a close for everyone. Hye-rin watches from the doorway as the manager continues to work at his desk with intense focus. She steps into the office, looking like she has something very important to discuss with him. She forces a professional smile while trying to navigate the awkward tension with her cold and calculated superior. The boss cracks open a protein drink, acting like he couldn't care less that she is standing right there. He takes a sip and waits for her to explain why she is visiting him. She explains that the stock Jinho picked hit the limit down, making it a total loss. The boss watches her closely, wondering if she is just covering for the new kid because he is her junior. It has only been 1 day since the boy arrived at the office. He finds her sudden display of loyalty to be very suspicious and out of character. Jinho's senior is all smiles, seemingly oblivious to the scrutiny they are under. She feels happy to have a new junior on the team. Meanwhile, the boss is lurking in his office, pointing a finger and looking absolutely unconvinced by her sudden protective streak. He turns his attention back to his monitor, clicking through Jinho's activity logs with a focused, analytical gaze. His eyes widen as he spots something specific on the screen regarding Jungang Insurance that makes his heart skip a beat. The man cannot wrap his head around why anyone would touch an insurance stock right now, given the current market climate. The boss considers that rookies often make mistakes with sell orders, which is the whole point of mock trading. He wonders if this was just a simple slip-up or something more calculated than it appears on the surface. He keeps staring at the data, unable to ignore the fact that an all-in buy at market price is a bold move. Unless it was intentional, this kid is either a complete idiot or a total genius. He narrows his eyes behind his glasses, deep in thought as he tries to solve the puzzle of this mysterious new recruit. Finally, he leans back in his chair, deciding that he has better things to do than overanalyze a single day's performance. He sits there in the dim light of his office, the silhouette of a man who knows how to wait for the truth. A close-up shot of a wheel on a cart spinning quickly as someone rushes through the office hallways. Jinho and his senior are still hustling, pushing carts and carrying stacks of documents as they wrap up their final tasks. They move through the empty conference room, making sure all files are organized before they can finally call it a day. Our boy looks absolutely exhausted, but a glimmer of pride shines in his eyes because he actually survived his first shift. Standing by the window as the sun sets over the city, they take a moment to breathe and appreciate the quiet office. His senior breaks into a massive grin, clearly impressed that Jinho did not fold under the pressure of his first day. As they head toward the elevators, she tells him flat out that he did a great job and should be proud. Jinho is caught off guard by the praise, looking a bit flustered as he tries to figure out how to respond. He scratches his head with a sheepish smile, feeling a mix of relief and genuine gratitude for her support. She laughs at his modesty, her cheerful energy acting as the perfect antidote to a long and stressful day at work. Her expression softens as she warns him that the boss is notoriously strict and won't go easy on him in the future. She looks him dead in the eye and tells him that no matter how hard things get, he absolutely cannot run away or give up. Our girl really wants him to succeed here despite the high stakes. Jin-ho gives a deep, respectful bow as they part ways, showing that he took her words to heart and intends to stay. He walks away with a goofy, satisfied look on his face, clearly riding the high of a successful start to his career. He lets out a long sigh of relief, stretching his shoulders as he heads toward the train station for the commute home. Suddenly, his phone starts buzzing in his pocket, and he pulls it out with a confused look on his face. On the other end of the line, a man with a thick beard is laughing hysterically while holding his phone up to his ear. Jin-ho answers the call, looking completely baffled as he asks what could possibly be so funny at this hour of the night. Jin-ho repeats the word respect in total disbelief, unable to comprehend why causing a massive scene at the office is actually making him look like a total legend to his friends. In his mind, Jin-ho imagines the boss losing his mind and throwing papers everywhere in a fit of absolute rage and frustration. He keeps walking down the street, trying to make sense of the cryptic information he is receiving over the phone. The bearded man continues to grin, clearly enjoying whatever chaos Jin-ho accidentally caused back at the office earlier today. He sets the phone down on his desk, continuing to talk about what might happen if a mistake actually occurred. Jin-ho stops dead in his tracks, his eyes widening as the weight of the situation finally starts to sink into his brain. Our boy stands in the middle of the sidewalk, looking like his world just got flipped upside down by a single phone call. The clock just hit 3:29, and the phone is already blowing up with another urgent call, making it clear that his first day is far from over. Our boy starts sprinting through the city streets. He's desperately trying to get back before the situation turns into a total disaster. The overhead office lights remain dim as the workday comes to an end, casting a quiet atmosphere over the room. Suddenly, the fluorescent lights flicker and hum with an intense blue energy, signaling a strange power surge in the building. Down in the cubicles, the atmosphere shifts in an instant. The workers are starting to realize something very weird is happening with the systems. A close-up of a hand frantically clicking a computer mouse as a trader tries to navigate through a sudden technical glitch. The whole team is losing their minds. One guy shouts into his phone while his coworker stares at the monitor in pure shock. The digital clock on the wall flickers with a bright light, showing that the time is exactly 3:29. Back in the corner office, the manager is obsessively tracking the charts, knowing that a single wrong move could cost the firm millions. The manager tries his best to maintain a professional poker face while thanking his staff, even though the intense pressure of the trading day is clearly starting to get under his skin. The manager's heart skips a beat as he spots something impossible on his screen. He realizes that the data in front of him is signaling a massive, unexpected shift that could change everything. He starts typing like a madman on the keyboard. He has to confirm if the insane data on his screen is actually legitimate. He leans in, completely mesmerized by the numbers on the screen. He has to double-check the figures because a price spike this massive should be impossible in the current market. It feels like a massive pillar of fire is erupting from the floor. This isn't just a small gain. This is a total market explosion that defies all logic. He just flipped the entire office upside down. A sharp sound effect slices through the silence of the office as the trading data finalizes. The tension in the air is thick enough to cut. A massive 15% gain in bold numbers. The entire office is in shock because the stock Jin-ho went all in on yesterday is officially mooning. The female coworker can barely breathe. She looks at Jin-ho like he's either a secret genius or just a complete lunatic. Jin-ho stays perfectly silent. He grips the edge of his desk and watches the green numbers on the screen climb higher and higher. She leans over his shoulder and demands to know how he knew. To her, he was just a lucky hire, but this play is legendary. The manager finally stands up. His massive frame towers over the entire office as he prepares to address the room. He locks eyes with Jin-ho with unreadable intensity, wondering if our boy is actually a secret mastermind or just the luckiest guy on the planet. Jin-ho takes a hard, nervous gulp as the tension in the train car seems to rise. He can feel the dry lump in his throat as he tries to prepare himself for the long day ahead. Our boy Jinho is just another face in the sea of suits. Everyone around him looks like a soul-sucked zombie trying to survive the morning rush. A heavy sigh escapes him as the weight of the day starts to settle in. It takes a lot of effort just to keep standing in this packed carriage. Jinho adjusts his tie while his brain screams for more sleep. He mutters about how tired he is, wondering if the corporate life is always going to feel this draining. He closes his eyes for a second, letting a small smile creep onto his face. His mind wanders back to the moment everything changed for his family. Scratching the back of his neck, he remembers the looks on his parents' faces. He finally made it into a top-tier company against all the odds. In his memory, his parents are absolutely losing their minds with excitement. He had to keep telling them that the news was real, and he actually got the job. His father tries to play it cool while adjusting his glasses. He jokes that the company must have had a very specific reason for picking someone like his son. The old man drops the act and firmly grips Jinho by the shoulders. He offers a heartfelt congratulations that carries more weight than any formal speech. A final piece of advice rings in his ears about working hard regardless of the struggles. It is the kind of classic parent talk that stays with you forever. Jinho thinks back to his parents, remembering how they always encouraged him to keep smiling and working hard. Their warm expressions are the fuel that keeps him going through these long office hours. Reality snaps back as the train slows down for his stop. Jinho pulls himself together, determined to make sure his parents' pride isn't misplaced. He walks up the steps toward the massive glass entrance of his new office. The scale of the place is enough to make any rookie feel tiny. Inside the office, his colleague is already busy moving around the cubicles. She looks like she has been part of this fast-paced environment for years. She catches his eye and offers a friendly smile to the new guy. It is a small gesture, but it helps take the edge off his first-day nerves. Jinho stands tall in his suit, looking every bit the professional businessman. He is ready to prove he belongs in this high-stakes world. Suddenly, his colleague leans over his shoulder to look at his monitor in total shock. Something on the screen has completely caught her off guard. The stock market software is displaying a flurry of activity and rapid price changes. The numbers are moving so fast it is almost impossible to track them. A massive red arrow signals a 15% jump in value for the company they are watching. This kind of movement is practically unheard of in a single session. Jinho and his senior coworker are totally locked in as they watch the market numbers fluctuate on the big screen. You can practically see the sweat on their faces because the pressure to make the right call is through the roof. Sweat beads on Jinho's forehead as he focuses intensely on the flickering screen. His heart is racing faster than the stock tickers in front of him. He swallows hard, realizing the sheer scale of the simulated profits being displayed. He thinks to himself that if this was real money, he would be set for life. The colleague suddenly snaps to attention as the door swings open behind them. The atmosphere in the room shifts instantly from excitement to pure dread. A man with a terrifyingly muscular frame and sharp glasses walks into the office. This guy looks more like a heavyweight champion than a corporate executive. His white shirt looks like it is about to burst from the sheer size of his muscles. This boss clearly spends more time at the gym than at his desk. Jinho looks like a deer in headlights as he realizes who just walked in. The room is filled with professional gym equipment, making it clear this boss has very specific priorities. It seems like working here involves more than just crunching numbers and filing reports. Jinho stands awkwardly in front of his massive new boss. He can barely process how the office is a weird mix of a high-tech trading floor and a professional powerlifting gym. The boss leans against a desk with his arms crossed, looking Jinho up and down. He lets out a short grunt that could mean anything from approval to total annoyance. Panic sets in, and Jinho flashes an overly bright smile while giving a double thumbs up. It is the most awkward rookie move in history. The boss just stares at him with an unimpressed expression that could melt steel. Jinho realizes he messed up and nervously asks for a pardon. The muscular executive looks down his glasses, hiding his true thoughts. The silence in the room is becoming almost unbearable for our poor protagonist. Jinho is sweating buckets, now wondering if his career is over before it even started. He lets out a weak sound as he tries to find the right words. The boss maintains his intimidating posture before finally breaking the silence to ask a question. He seems to be evaluating every single detail of Jinho's existence in this one moment. He leans in closer, his gaze turning incredibly sharp and intense. Jinho feels like he is being interrogated by a human mountain with a master's degree. Suddenly, a memory of a mysterious woman in a witch outfit flashes through Jinho's mind. She warns him with a finger to her lips never to reveal they met in a game. This secret is the only thing standing between him and a very painful conversation with his boss. Jinho was sweating bullets as he tried to keep his cool. He knew one wrong word could blow his entire secret in front of the boss. The manager in the glasses decides to back off, realizing that pushing for more answers right now isn't going to work. He turns away with a sigh, letting Jinho keep his secrets for at least one more day. But then the manager dropped the name Jungang Insurance while looking Jinho right in the eyes. The pressure in the room was getting heavy. Jinho tried to play it off with a nervous smile and a scratch of his head. He was doing his best to act like a normal rookie. The manager remembered seeing Jinho during the briefing when everyone was buried in complex data. Jinho was exposed to sensitive information about interest rate fluctuations and government bond ratios. Most rookies would have been completely lost, but Jinho seemed to be absorbing every single detail without trouble. He knew that a new hire who just started yesterday shouldn't be able to process that level of data so easily. The timing of the buy order was just too perfect to be a simple coincidence. It was like he knew exactly what was going to happen next in the market. At that moment, the manager was torn between two possibilities. Either Jinho made a cold and calculated decision, or he just had the luck of a god. Our protagonist kept up the act by scratching his neck and looking as innocent as possible. He needed the manager to believe he was just lucky. The manager stared back with a look that showed he was definitely not convinced. He was a man who trusted numbers over luck any day. Once he finally made it out of the office, Jinho let out the biggest sigh of relief. That encounter was way too close for comfort. Inside the office, the manager started working his grip trainer while obsessing over the situation. He kept repeating the idea that Jinho simply got lucky. He started thinking about the CEO of the company, who was known for hiring strictly based on merit. That man was a total legend. The CEO did not build this massive company by being a great investor himself. He did it by investing in the right people at the right time. The manager realized there was no way a man like the CEO would hire a nobody without a reason. There had to be something more to Jinho. He was determined to peel back the layers and find out exactly what Jinho was hiding from everyone. He crushed his hand gripper as he made a silent vow to uncover the truth. Whatever the secret was, the manager intended to find out sooner or later. While the manager obsessed over the rookie's secrets, a senior colleague stopped by to deliver the morning reports. He forced himself to maintain a professional mask. She kept the update short, sensing that her boss was in an intense mood. Once she finished, she headed back out to the main office floor. Jinho was just trying to relax at his desk when he saw the colleague approaching. He looked a bit surprised to see her coming his way. She is practically glowing with joy as she approaches his desk, her eyes wide with pure triumph. She grips her badge tightly, trying to find the words. She can't contain her energy for another second, and starts bouncing around Jinho's workspace with a huge smile. She is absolutely buzzing and ready to celebrate their success. Her eyes were literally sparkling as she looked at our protagonist. She seemed to be in the best mood of her entire life. She gave Jinho a massive celebratory smack on the back that nearly sent him out of his chair. That definitely had to hurt a little bit. She walks away humming a happy tune while Jinho just watches her go with a satisfied grin. It looks like our protagonist has finally earned some serious respect from the veterans in the office. He was left rubbing his shoulder and wondering why his coworkers were so aggressive. Being a rookie in this office felt like a full-contact sport. Later that day, the lights went down and the projector hummed to life for another meeting. The manager took the stage to talk about the entire value chain for their latest project. He looked as intense as ever under the spotlight. Jinho was stuck in the middle of the room trying to look like a diligent employee. He kept his notebook ready to take down every detail. He stared at his notes, realizing that real-world business terminology was way harder than game stats. The struggle was very real for him. He wrote down keywords like electric vehicles and nickel while trying to connect the dots. He thought that maybe everything worked the same way. Suddenly, he realized that assigning market roles was just like managing a high-level game party. He imagined his old party members helping him out. Even with that breakthrough, his brain was still doing backflips from all the complex information. He looked completely overwhelmed by the data. The manager commanded the entire room from the podium, his massive physique making him look like he could bench press the office. Every word he spoke carried total authority. He kept a sharp eye on Jinho from across the room. He was waiting for even the slightest hint of the truth to show. Jinho and his colleague nodded along to the presentation to show they were paying attention. They both looked like they were working hard. The team stands frozen in shock as they receive some unexpected news from their superior. Jinho and his colleague look at each other, trying to process exactly how this is going to change their game plan. Jinho and his teammates are caught completely off guard. Their eyes are wide as they stare at the man who just entered the room, wondering if they are in trouble or if something big is about to happen. The manager adjusts his glasses, his expression unreadable as he simply acknowledges the situation with a calm nod. He seems to be taking everything in while the office tension reaches a new high. A cold and calculated glint flashes in the man's eyes. He is the kind of boss who does not miss a single detail, and right now, he is looking straight through everyone. He gives a subtle nod of approval. It is barely a gesture, but in a high-pressure office like this, that tiny movement carries the weight of a mountain. Jinho and his colleagues stand perfectly still, waiting for the final verdict. The silence in the room is suffocating as they wonder if they actually passed the test. As soon as he gets the chance, Jinho wheels his chair back to his desk. He does not have a single second to waste on small talk or celebrations. Our boy sits down and stares at the glowing screen. He takes a deep breath and swallows hard, knowing exactly what he has to do to make this plan work. His hand hovers over the mouse, ready to pull the trigger on a massive trade. This is the exact moment where everything for his future could change. Rows of stock numbers and market data scroll past his eyes at a dizzying speed. Jinho is locked in, scanning the fluctuating values with a level of focus that is honestly terrifying. He is searching for that one tiny crack in the market that everyone else missed, and he won't stop until he finds it. He watches the candlestick charts rise and fall with intense scrutiny. He is looking for that one specific pattern he predicted earlier, waiting for the perfect entry point. Jinho's hand is glued to the mouse as he prepares to execute a massive trade that could change everything. He waits for the perfect millisecond to click and lock in the profits before the window closes. Jinho leans in closer, his face inches from the monitor as he watches the live updates. He needs to see if his crazy theory actually works in the real-world market or if he just threw everything away. The tension is real as he waits for the system to process his move. His hand is practically vibrating from the sheer adrenaline. Even for someone as skilled as our protagonist, gambling on this scale is a nerve-wracking experience. He tracks the shifting numbers with absolute focus, watching as the graphs move exactly the way he hoped they would to validate his risky strategy. A surge of pure energy seems to radiate from Jinho as he watches the screen with wide eyes. He finally did it, proving that his risky theory was right all along. He slams the mouse button down for the final confirmation of his profits. That is the sound of a winning bet hitting the mark perfectly. From the back, Jinho looks like a king sitting on a throne of digital data. The office around him is quiet, but his screen is screaming victory. But he is not the only one watching the screen. The manager sits in the shadows, his hands clasped together as he silently analyzes Jinho's every move. Behind those glasses, the boss is looking for any sign of a mistake. He is starting to realize that this new kid might be much more dangerous than he looks. The office is absolutely buzzing today. Everyone is locked into their monitors as the workday grind keeps moving forward at full speed. Associate Lee Hairin finally powers through her mountain of work and celebrates with a victory stretch. She is officially finished for the day and could not be happier about it. Associate Lee Hairin is feeling like a total pro after finishing her tasks early. She knows she is killing it today and is not afraid to let her confidence show. Associate Lee peeks over the cubicle wall and is surprised to see Jinho sitting there completely motionless, staring blankly ahead. She is genuinely taken aback by his intense expression. He looks like he's witnessing a tragedy, and she can't help but feel a little worried about her junior. Jinho is completely zoned out, focusing all his energy on the numbers moving across his display. He is so locked in that he does not even realize his mentor is watching. In reality, our protagonist is dying of boredom. He literally has 0 tasks on his plate and is just trying to look busy to survive the day. Meanwhile, the stock market is absolute chaos. Diane's solution is currently taking a massive nosedive, and investors are starting to panic. Jinho watches the red numbers tumble on his screen. Most people would be screaming right now, but he just keeps a steady, nervous eye on the data. He sighs to himself, wishing he had picked a stock that was actually in the green. Watching his money vanish in real time is not exactly a fun hobby. Associate Lee Hairin sneaks up behind Jinho to see how his first day is going. She expects to see him struggling with spreadsheets, not deep diving into the chaotic world of day trading. She starts bragging about her own success, flashing a peace sign. She's convinced she's the only one on the team who managed to turn a profit today. Associate Lee is absolutely beaming, fully embracing her role as the veteran. She really thinks she is about to drop some life-changing wisdom on her favorite rookie. But then she actually sees what is on his monitor. Her smile vanishes instantly as she realizes Jinho is holding onto a stock that is currently crashing into the abyss. She is absolutely fuming once she realizes how reckless her junior is being with his money. This kind of gambling is exactly what she warns everyone against. Jinho struggles to come up with an excuse that will not make him sound like a total lunatic. He knows he looks like a failure, but the truth is just too complicated. Our boy is panicking internally because he can't exactly tell her he bought it using a secret ability. Even if she is usually an angel of a mentor, there is no way she is letting this kind of amateur mistake slide. This situation is getting incredibly frustrating for him. Jinho is desperately trying to keep his cool under her heavy gaze. He realizes that keeping his secret is going to be much harder than he anticipated. Hairin decides it is time for some tough love. She tells him that today he is getting a brutal crash course on how to actually survive in this department. She points a stern finger at him and demands they talk over dinner. It's Udon tonight, and he better be ready for a very long lecture. Jinho is completely caught off guard by the sudden turn of events. He was bracing for a pink slip, but instead, he is getting a free meal and a second chance. He is so moved by her kindness that he actually starts tearing up. Talk about a dramatic reaction for some noodles and a lecture. Our protagonist gives a shaky thumbs up, feeling incredibly lucky. He honestly can't believe he ended up with such a supportive mentor. The cozy moment is shattered when a pair of sharp heels click against the floor. A cold voice asks them if they think their little chat is funny. Their supervisor is definitely not in the mood for jokes, and she looks ready to tear them a new one. One look at her crossed arms tells them they are in deep trouble. The pair immediately drops into a deep bend to beg for forgiveness before things get any worse. Even with their heads down, they can still feel her icy stare drilling into them. Both of them offer a deep, submissive apology to the angry supervisor. The workplace hierarchy is no joke, and they are feeling the heat. As they bends at the waist, Hairin sneakily winks at Jinho. Even in the middle of getting scolded, she is still trying to keep his spirits up. The supervisor finally decides she has said enough and marches off. The weight lifting off their shoulders is practically visible once she is finally out of sight. Hairin watches her leave and whispers a warning. On days when the market is this bad, you have to watch your back around the higher-ups. Across the office, a man with glasses is breathing heavily and sweating through his shirt. He looks like he just saw a ghost. Everywhere you look, the employees are defeated. Some are leaning against walls while others just sit in their chairs, staring at nothing. The entire atmosphere has turned heavy and grim. It seems like the crashing market is taking a physical toll on every single person in the room. 3 guys look up with expressions of pure terror. They see someone approaching, and it is clear that things are about to get even worse. Team leader Hakti makes his grand entrance, and his massive frame is enough to make the air in the room feel heavy. This guy does not even need to speak to command attention. The junior associates are so terrified that they immediately drop into a synchronized bow. They know better than to make eye contact with the man who holds their careers in his hands. Team leader Kim Hakti gave them a thumbs up and told them they did a great job. On the surface, he seemed like a supportive boss, but his presence was absolutely suffocating. As soon as they are dismissed, the guys practically sprint out of the break room in a total panic. They clearly want to get as far away from the boss as humanly possible. Hakti turned his attention to Jinho, watching him from across the sleek office kitchen. He could feel that Jinho was different from the other terrified rookies. A man with a sharp, calculating gaze watches the scene unfold from a distance. Unlike the others, he seems completely unbothered by the heavy atmosphere in the room. This giant of a man was Kim Hakti, the legendary team leader at Gwangun Securities. In this high-stakes world, his word was basically law. Hakti stands tall as Jinho walks past him with a steady gait. Neither man breaks eye contact, the tension between the seasoned veteran and the bold rookie thick enough to cut with a knife. Jinho leaned in with a smug look, showing off his own brand of ego. He wasn't about to be pushed around by some corporate titan and wanted Hakti to know he wasn't folding. Hakti adjusted his glasses, looking Jinho straight in the eye with a mask of cold professionalism. He wasn't going to let some rookie intimidate him on his own turf. The legendary team leader lets out a small gasp of confusion. He can't believe that in the middle of this intense confrontation, the rookie is casually preparing workout drink. Jinho started shaking his bottle, the rhythmic sound filling the silence between them. He was treating the high-stakes office environment like a casual gym visit. Jinho closes his eyes, a serene smile playing on his lips. He seems completely unaffected by Hakti's attempts at intimidation, resting his mind for a moment before his next move. Jinho's eyes snapping open with a sharp, focused intensity. He isn't just ignoring Hakti, he's observing him right back with predatory precision. With a casual wave over his shoulder, Jinho exits the room. He leaves the team leader standing there, dismissed as if the corporate titan's presence was merely a minor distraction. Hakti watched him go with a serious expression, already processing the rookie's blatant lack of respect. He knew that in this industry, status meant everything, and he wouldn't let this go easily. Later that day, the team gathered in a dark conference room for a strategy meeting. Hakti stood at the front, his massive frame silhouetted against the bright projector screen. The other employees looked absolutely miserable, their faces drained of color as they stared at the market data. The pressure of the bear market was clearly getting to everyone. Hakti paced around the room, looming over the workstations like a hungry wolf. He noticed that while everyone else was panicking, one person stood out as being way too calm. He stopped dead in his tracks, his eyes narrowing as he looked at Jinho's monitor. He couldn't believe what he was seeing on the screen during such a volatile period. While everyone else was losing their minds over the red numbers, Jinho sat there looking completely relaxed and taking notes. Hakti couldn't understand how a rookie could keep such a cool head while his entire portfolio was bleeding out. Hakti thought it was a blessing that this was only mock trading for now. Jinho had placed an all-in buy on a stock that was currently sinking like a lead weight along with the rest of the market. It was a reckless move that made absolutely zero sense to a seasoned veteran like him. He loomed over the room, his glasses reflecting the harsh light of the monitors. To him, Jinho looked like an amateur who was about to learn a very expensive lesson about reality. Hakti realized he had been far too optimistic about Jinho's future at the firm. He was now convinced that the boy's previous success was just a total fluke, concluding that he was just another overconfident kid who didn't actually understand how the market worked. He was certain the downward trend in the battery sector would never be reversed. As he left the office building that evening, he figured the only way Jinho could win was if the sky itself turned upside down. Little did he know, tomorrow was going to be the most chaotic day of his career. But the very next morning, the entire world was in for a massive shock. Hakti stared at the monitors, his mouth hanging open as a cold sweat started to form on his brow. Breaking news banners flashed across every screen in the office. Something huge happened overnight that nobody in the industry anticipated, and it was causing an absolute frenzy. The headline revealed that the world's largest producer of nickel abruptly announced a massive cut in supply. They decided to slash exports by over 30% to focus on their own domestic industry. A news anchor explained that this measure was going into effect immediately. This was a total game changer for anyone involved in battery production and tech manufacturing across the entire globe. Absolute chaos erupted on the trading floor as people started screaming. Everyone was scrambling to close out their short positions before they lost everything in the resulting price spike. Monitors that were once filled with depressing blue lines suddenly started to glitch and change. The market was reacting with unprecedented volatility to the sudden shortage of raw materials. A massive red candle shot straight up on the chart, piercing through every resistance level like it wasn't even there. Jinho's all-in bet was paying off in the most spectacular way possible. An analyst rushes toward Hack T, urgently thrusting a document into his hand. Her frantic movements signal that the market shift isn't just a trend, it's an emergency. She shouted that they were in deep trouble because of the sudden price surge. Her eyes were wide with terror as she realized just how much money was on the line for their firm. Hack T could only stare in disbelief, his brain struggling to process the reality of the situation. The impossible had actually happened exactly as Jinho predicted. He stood there frozen, a single bead of sweat rolling down his face. He realized the sky had indeed turned upside down, and Jinho was the only one who saw it coming. The female analyst looks at Hack T with a mix of fear and disbelief. She explains the gravity of the situation, her voice trembling as she confirms the stock prices are skyrocketing. Hack T stands frozen, his back to the office as the weight of Jinho's genius hits him. He is reeling from the fact that a rookie's absurd bet is currently saving or breaking the firm. Our protagonist keeps his head down and continues taking notes. He needs to blend in while everyone around him starts to panic over the sudden market shift. Jinho hides a subtle smirk behind his notebook. Everything is going exactly according to plan, and nobody suspects the new guy is behind the insight. An abrupt announcement from Indonesia hit the news wires, delivering a shock that no major institution could have predicted. Team leader Hack T broke into a cold sweat as he realized Jinho had somehow seen this coming all along. Jinho turns around in his chair as the office erupts into noise. He plays his part perfectly, looking just as surprised as the rest of the staff. Lee Hai-rin rushes over with a look of absolute shock on her face. She cannot wrap her head around the fact that the impossible news is actually true. Jinho remembers a tip from a lecture about always giving a big reaction to avoid standing out. He throws his hands up and acts completely stunned by the news. Hai-rin is being incredibly dramatic, waving her arms around while Jinho watches from his desk. This workplace is definitely not known for its calm environment. Jinho analyzed the chaos internally, knowing the supply of nickel was the ultimate key. Since it was the main material for batteries, his all-in bet was about to skyrocket while the rest of the market crashed. Hai-rin tries to explain the gravity of the situation to Jinho. She thinks she is mentoring him, but she has no idea he is miles ahead. She gives him a confident smile, feeling proud of her knowledge. It is pretty funny seeing her teach the guy who actually predicted the whole thing. A hand slams onto a desk with enough force to silence the entire room. The playful atmosphere vanishes in an instant as a powerful presence enters. Department head Lee immediately feels the pressure as a superior force interrupts his quiet day. Even a veteran manager like him knows that an unexpected visit from the higher-ups usually means trouble is brewing. An intense request for a private discussion fills the space. This is not a suggestion, and everyone knows something major is about to go down. A massive man in a red tie looms over the department head. He looks like he could crush a bowling ball with one hand, and he is not happy. The senior manager demands to know who was responsible for the report. He is looking for the genius who saw the Indonesian announcement coming before anyone else. While the junior staff gossips, the real power moves are happening behind the closed doors of the executive suite. This is where Guanggun Securities makes its most ruthless decisions. CEO Hwang D-un runs the entire operation with an iron fist, commanding absolute silence and respect without having to say a single word to his subordinates. Hwang checks his phone to access a secret notification from an exclusive network. This golden icon suggests he's playing a much bigger game than anyone else in the company. Hwang remains perfectly calm as he monitors the market chaos from the comfort of his leather chair. He clearly has access to top-tier information, that keeps him steps ahead of every other investor today. A hand firmly places a small shot glass onto the table as the dinner meeting gets underway. Hyrin is clearly feeling the alcohol, raising a finger as she starts giving Jinho some unsolicited advice. Jinho takes a moment to appreciate the unexpected warmth of this workplace mentor. He knows that navigating the cutthroat investment world will be much easier with someone like her in his corner. She gives him a warm and supportive smile that makes her earlier intensity melt away in an instant. Jinho lets out a surprised sound as he tries to process the sudden shift in the conversation. She tells him to slump his shoulders and act like he is going through some serious family trouble. Hyrin starts faking tears just to show Jinho he is not the only one struggling in this world. Our boy is genuinely touched that a senior would go to such lengths just to make a rookie junior like him feel more comfortable. While he watches her, Jinho feels a pang of guilt about his secret entry into the company. He worries her kindness might turn to cold resentment if she ever discovers he was actually a parachute hire who skipped the line. She slams her glass down and shouts Jinho's name, making him jump halfway out of his skin with surprise. She looks at him with a mischievous grin, clearly enjoying how much she just startled her junior coworker. Jinho finally relaxes and gives her a genuine smile back as the tension of the day fully disappears. They clink their glasses together for one last round before a bright new morning arrives with clear blue skies. It is a fresh start for our protagonist as he heads into the office for his first real test. The sunny weather feels like a good omen for the challenges waiting for him at the desk. The massive headquarters of Gwangun Securities towers over the city as the workday begins in earnest for everyone inside. The stock ticker shows Daihan Solutions skyrocketing by 15%, proving that the market is moving exactly as predicted. Jinho stares at the monitor in shock, confirming that his supernatural trading talent is finally paying off. Our boy is busy working when he notices Hyrin letting out a sharp gasp of air right behind him. She is so mortified by something that she literally collapses onto the floor in a fit of extreme embarrassment. Her face turns bright red as she tries to hide from the awkwardness of the situation with her hands. She drops into a full bow on the ground, begging for forgiveness for her wild behavior the night before. Suddenly she leaps up and starts stretching Jinho's cheeks, shouting that he is truly amazing for his trading results. Hyrin looks genuinely thrilled about his mock trading results, showing none of the typical jealousy you might expect from a senior. Jinho realizes that having a mentor who truly celebrates his success is a massive advantage in this business. Jinho just sits there and lets her pull on his face, feeling a sense of warmth from her praise. Our boy thinks to himself that he is lucky to have someone like her as his official mentor. In a different part of the building, a hand slams a stack of papers down with aggressive force. An older manager picks up the document, looking completely blindsided and nervous by what he is currently reading. The man starts breaking into a cold sweat as he realizes he is in some very deep trouble. This absolute unit of an employee is staring the manager down with eyes that are full of cold fury. The muscle-bound man leans over the desk, demanding an immediate explanation for the suspicious paperwork in front of them. The manager tries to stand his ground against the sheer physical intimidation radiating from across the desk. He realizes that this employee isn't just making a request, he is issuing a direct challenge to his authority right now. The buff employee looks down in silence, letting the weight of his presence do all the talking for him. Workplace dynamics can be a real headache, sometimes especially when he slams both hands on the desk to show dominance. His glasses catch the office light as his gaze turns sharp enough to make anyone in the room flinch. The older man can barely look up as a large hand reaches toward him across the wide mahogany desk. A massive fist clenches tight, vibrating with the kind of rage that usually ends in something getting broken. The muscle-bound worker stands his ground with a clenched fist, making his physical dominance over the manager perfectly clear. The rhythmic click of polished shoes echoes through the hall as a man of power makes his way to his next meeting. The elevator doors slide open, and the CEO steps out with his entourage trailing closely behind him like silent shadows. He wears the face of a man who just survived corporate war zone and actually managed to come out on top. The bearded boss marches down the hallway with his team in tow, discussing how a major financial disaster was narrowly avoided. Everyone is on edge because they know that even a small mistake in the US market could have wiped out their entire operation. Once he gets into his private office, He drops into the plush leather chair with a heavy sigh of pure exhaustion. Our big boss man finally loosens his tie and lets out a long breath. Work hard, play hard, I guess. His secretary approaches him from behind, needing a moment of his time for something that just cannot wait for tomorrow. He looks back at her with a tired expression, wondering what could possibly be so urgent at this hour of the night. She stands there looking a little hesitant, as if she is about to deliver some news that might sound a bit crazy. The CEO lets out a confused sound after hearing her report, because what she just said makes absolutely no sense to him. The CEO turns away to process the shock, leaving his secretary standing there in awkward silence. She tentatively calls out to him, wondering if the news about Jinho has finally pushed him over the edge. He starts reflecting on his own choices and realizes that even though he hired Jinho himself, his actions were pretty impulsive. Promoting a rookie who has not even been here a week to a senior position is something that will definitely cause a stir among the veterans. A bead of sweat rolls down his face as he wonders if he just hired the kid and then completely ignored the consequences. He suddenly stands back up, making his secretary jump, little at the sudden burst of energy from the big boss. The big boss pauses for a moment, a knowing smirk spreading across his face as he considers his next move. He clearly has a master plan in mind and is watching Jinho's performance very closely. The secretary finally heads out the door, leaving the big man alone to stew in his own complicated thoughts for a bit. He admits to himself that he really should have given the rest of the team heads up before doing something this wild. A small smirk plays on his lips as he realizes that shaking things up might actually be for the best in the end. He figures they won't entrust a rookie with much capital anyway, so the company funds are safe for now. It is the perfect chance for Jinho to experience firsthand what real investing is like and see if he can actually swim with the sharks. He stands by the massive glass window looking out at the city skyline, like he owns every single building in his sight. Meanwhile, Jinho is heading home on the subway, looking like he has been through a literal human blender. The corporate grind is already starting to take a massive toll. He looks absolutely drained of all life force with his eyes rolled back as the corporate grind starts taking its heavy toll. By the time he gets back into the office, he looks like he is ready to burst into tears from sheer mental exhaustion. But then he sees Lee Hyrin, who gives him a bright wave and a smile that could light up the whole floor. The two of them settle into their desks, but Jinho is still feeling the massive pressure of his new senior title. Jinho struggles to carry a massive stack of folders, while his coworker mentions that all this grueling overtime will at least lead to some extra pay. The workload is intense, but he is willing to grind through the paperwork to get ahead in the game. He stares at the data and wonders if organizing all these numbers can really help anyone predict how the market moves. Hyrin watches him with a knowing look in her eyes, as if she can see right through his internal corporate panic. Jinho thinks to himself that the domestic market is a whole different beast where logical approaches usually just don't work. She takes a document from the pile and starts reading it with a serious expression that means she finally found something. Her expression softens into a smile as she finds a piece of information that seems to finally connect all the dots. Hyrin holds the paper tightly, her focus sharpening as she looks at the specific data points that might change everything. She explains that global markets are all tangled together by invisible threads that most people never see. It is like the butterfly effect, where a single butterfly flapping its wings on the other side of the world can eventually crash down here as a massive wave of change. She looks over at Jinho with total confidence as she reveals the true nature of the financial game they are playing. Our boy listens intently as the reality of the financial industry starts to sink in during his training. He knows he needs to absorb every bit of information if he wants to survive in this high-stakes environment. Our boy reflects on the past, thinking about how the world mocks the idea of an experienced rookie. Back then, Jinho and his friends felt like they were simply born in the wrong era for success. It was a bleak time for anyone trying to start a career. They used to blame the entire job market for their failures, wondering what they were even supposed to do. With no real prospects on the horizon, Jinho decided that playing games was the only escape left. Being stuck in that hopeless rut was rough for them. Hyrin looks over the latest reports with a satisfied smile, clearly pleased with how things are progressing. She is starting to see that Jinho might actually have what it takes to thrive under her guidance. Jinho closes his eyes and has a major epiphany about his past failures and his future goals. He realizes that relying on luck is a total insult to those who actually work hard, and he vows to give this opportunity everything he's got. Even though he still has no clue what to do with his newfound ability, he makes a vow to himself right then and there. Our boy is going to do his absolute best so he won't have to feel ashamed of his effort again. He stands tall, ready to face whatever comes next head-on with a new sense of purpose. After a long day of dealing with corporate madness, Jinho trudges back home looking completely drained. He is slumped over and clearly needs some serious rest. The weight of his new life is starting to take a physical toll on him. He opens the door expecting a quiet night of solitude to recharge his batteries. However, something immediately catches his eye the moment he steps inside. He freezes as he realizes he might not be alone after all. Our boy stands in the entryway, looking around the living room in total confusion. The house feels different than he left it this morning. He scans the area, trying to figure out why his intuition is screaming at him. Suddenly, a pillow flies through the air and smacks him right in the face. A voice yells out, asking him what he means by saying nobody's home. He definitely did not expect a physical ambush the second he walked through the door. Jinho catches the pillow and looks over with an annoyed expression on his face. He is exhausted and really was not in the mood for any more surprises today. He prepares to give whoever threw it a piece of his mind. This girl is just making herself at home, greeting Jinho with a smirk as if no time has passed at all. Since she's calling him Oppa, it looks like our boy has some unexpected family business to handle after a long day at work.